Hello, Alice Hector here. I've not done one of these before, so I'm just checking how it works. Yeah, seems to be online. Welcome to a bit of a Q&A session I've got going on. I've been sponsored by Sundried for a good few years now, actually. I just to say, as all of you are probably aware, like the brand just is great for what it stands for with its ethics. Lovely team, great clothing, great quality, and it's been a pleasure to represent them for the last few years. Happy to take any questions. Just a little bit about me. I was a pro triathlete from 2014 to 2019. Still doing a fair bit now, but I have switched my focus more to ultra running. And I've done quite a bit of that in the past as well, successfully. I'd welcome any questions about, say, what I've learned in pro triathlon, the mistakes I've made, so you don't have to. Anyone that's got any interest in ultra running or making the transition between the two, any questions like that, fire away, and I'll try and answer as many as I can. So I've got a few that have come through already. Girl called Hayley. Hi, Hayley. She wants to know about the sort of average daily calories that I take. So at the moment, I'm not training quite as much as I would normally do. I can't get massage, so I can't really do like the top level running that I normally would. I'd say I try and focus around 3 main meals a day as normal, and just have a few snacks here and there. I don't count calories, so I'm afraid I can't answer that exactly. But yeah, like at the moment, say for the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I was that went to pot a bit. But I try and eat relatively sensibly with a couple of treats every day. And just eat well. If I am trying to get to race weight, which happens, say, a couple of times a year usually, I will have a main meal, say, last thing at night, 6-7 o'clock, and then try and not eat for the rest of that evening, because it's quite easy to watch a film and have a few snacks and things like that. So that's the one thing that I notice really does help, sort of if you are trying to just lean down a bit. But yeah, most of the time I just eat as I feel. Another one from Toby about strength training. What strength training do I do? I think like most of us, I say, I've sort of not been swimming obviously, but swim, bike and run, they sort of come naturally to us, and I can do that like off my own back. But strength training, I find that really challenging. It's something that has to be done, but I don't think you need to do too much of it. I use in normal life, I use a personal trainer once or twice a week. We did try going heavy with squats and deadlifts and things, but I was just finding the recovery, the knock-on effect was hampering my running certainly, and the cycling. There was just too much fatigue. So we've adapted, and it's much more sort of body weight exercises, a lot of activation, but nothing that will give me severe DOMs for the next day. So it just becomes a sort of rolling thing, with maybe an hour a week, an hour a week, really focused, and then the rest of it is just a few minutes here and there before a session or something. So another one from Stuart. This is now we're getting to the good stuff. Favourite thing to eat on a long run? So the longest I've run, that was back in 2012, was 100 miles. I did 100 miles on the North Downs Way. So say my general training, my longest running training wouldn't ever go over sort of 3.5-4 hours, and that would be once a week if I'm leading up to an ultra. But what I do find is that you do need treats. It does help break up the time and the monotony. So I always have some fizzy sweets, normally the fizzy ones with because they've got a bit of a tang to them, so it's not just this sugar overload, it's a bit of sour as well. So some sweets, definitely I find Morton is brilliant as a drink for that high carb but low volume, so you don't have to have a lot of volume in your stomach, which can be uncomfortable when you're running. So I use Morton as a base, and then sweets definitely as a top up. And then as I get going with the longer into a run I get, so once you're talking sort of 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, I find that my body wants real food more. So it's very much a case of sort of listening to your body. So I'd start with gels and a few sweets and energy drinks, and then as the ultra or the time goes on, I would look for flapjacks and bananas and things like that. Your body tells you, and then it's only I just have very small quantities at a time, because obviously you don't want to be downing something massive, because that can be a bit disastrous with a digestive system overload. Definitely. Yeah, Haribo, I would say, as that answer. And then I've got one from Rachel about duathlon training, because last year, and maybe this year if it happens, I got into the Powerman series, the middle distance, which is 10k run, 60k bike, 10k run. And so I like that a lot, because running's obviously my favourite, but the bike, 60k on the bike, I can sort of cope with that. I've never managed to find the same rhythm that I do on the bike that I do in the run. There's a sort of almost even run to bike times there with that Powerman setup. Obviously I do more on the bike because it's low impact, but I do prefer running. So I do as much running as possible and as least cycling as I can get away with. But no, I mean, we were doing up to about 20 hours a week, some weeks at cycling, but I hope to be able to do some Powerman again this year. We'll see what happens at the end of autumn, winter. But this time I'm going to try something a bit different, and I'm going to keep my long runs going with ultra in mind. So actually my longer runs are going to be longer than my longer bikes. So so I'm up to 3 hours. I will be up to 3 hours running, or 3.5, and the cycling, 2.5 is a good balance for me. But lots of quality on Zwift. I've been doing the Zwift races as well. I say lots, but you have to be careful with the high intensity and make sure you recover from that, because that can be utterly destructive, which goes against your training principles altogether. Like, you want to build yourself up, not bash yourself down into a hole that you can't get out of, and I've certainly been there in the past. So I think that's why I am getting on so well with the ultra running, is because the vast majority of the training is low intensity, and so the recovery is you get back from a session and you're not tired and wired, you're just tired. So it means you can shut down, you can go to sleep and things like that. Whereas if you race really, really hard, the intensity, it does something to your body. It puts you in that sort of fight or flight mode, and I find that particularly hard to switch off from. So if you find your sleep is sleep is definitely a first sign. If that becomes compromised, if you can't switch off at night, it's definitely a sign that, rather than thinking, I'm not fit enough and my body can't take it, it's actually a sign normally to bring it back. So I'd say do as much intensity as you can, but keep an eye on those recovery clues. Your body will give you clues. You must listen to the clues, because it's so easy to bash away. How often do you work out? Twice a day, and what do you do? Yes, at the moment, we'll talk about now. Sorry, I missed your name, the person who asked that question. But normally I'm training twice a day. It gives me good sort of structure to a day that I have a little bit of work going on here and there, but to be honest, there's not too much going on. So to get up in the morning, what I've been doing is doing something outside, preferably the running. I have just got a treadmill that's arrived, but I'll use that reluctantly if it comes to that. The running's outside, and then if I've done that, then I'll hop on Zwift in the afternoon, and I tend to do either definitely like one one hard thing followed by one easy thing, to keep it in simplistic terms. I did used to do, when I was trying to do like full-on pro training, I would do 2 or 3 sometimes high intensity sessions a day. And looking back, I mean, it just whittled me down. I mean, I was on fire in training for a few weeks, and then come to the races, I'd left all my good performances in these training sessions. So yeah, it's a constant case of just keeping a nice balance. So for every high intensity session you do a couple of low intensity sessions after that, and yeah, just keep it rolling. But yeah, certainly it's twice a day is normal. 3 times a day, that was my sort of tipping point. I'd sort of struggle with that, but twice a day gives you that nice window of opportunity to recover. If you do something first thing, something just before dinner, and then yeah, the day stays nice. Tips for preventing injury, Alex. Well, Alex runs far, so he must be used to some injuries. Yeah, so when I started out, so I'm 37 now, so I'm getting on a bit. But when I started out trying to run and trying to be a sort of elite triathlete at 19, I was absolutely riddled with just about every single injury you could think of under the sun. My legs were so weak. And it wasn't, took me a few years. It took me a recommendation of a friend to get some sports massage. I'd never heard of it before. So at the time I had shin splints for 2.5 years. And yeah, within 6 weeks of seeing a sports massage therapist, the shin splints had disappeared. But yeah, I mean, I'm constantly, with the ultra running, there is constantly a little niggle here and there. And I was just trying to explain this to a friend of mine the other day, that you can run on these niggles, but you have to be super aware. So the moment you feel something coming in, obviously cut it back. So my 1.5 hour sort of standard run would become 40 minutes automatically. I do extra stretching afterwards, mobility beforehand, activation, get the blood flow before you start running. What you can do, and it's quite hard to explain, is if it feels tight, you can, and nothing really, it doesn't progress, you can still sort of run on it. But it's a different type of pain where you can feel if something's inflamed, or if it's just a bit achy. And if it's just a bit achy, you can normally reduce the training and just wait for it to release itself, with all the sort of, yeah, with all the extra prep work that hopefully you'll do alongside that with those clues. But if something does feel inflamed, then you have to stop and wait for that inflammation to subside. So for instance, if something's sore to touch, that's a sign that, you know, you do need to get on the bike rather than run, or something. And just, you know, it can be a difference. I mean, I've noticed if I wait a day or two, something that's bothering me can be as right as rain. Whereas if I'd run the day before or the day, you know, then I'd have a problem on my hands. So a lot of it is patience and taking control and getting treatment if possible, which is difficult at this time. But yeah, often with injury, it's the worst thing you can do is full rest. I'd always try, and obviously you have to see a physio virtually or whatever you can do rather than listen to me. But full rest things just seize up. So it's keeping it mobile or active somehow tends to increase that recovery rate. So hopefully that helps. What do I do with myself on days where I don't feel like training? Yes, well, we've all had that. Sorry, I missed the name again. At the moment, to be honest, it's a bit of a highlight, I think, our once a day getting outside. So I have tried to get outside, and I do love running, but as much as I love running, sometimes it just feels awful. And, you know, I think at the moment, because we have no races coming up and things, I've just learned as I get older to just be a bit easier on myself, because I used to think, and we're all taught, that sort of every session counts. And you know, I used to get really upset if I missed a session and things. But what I realise is if you want success and you want to get good, it's not 1 month, it's not one session, it's not 1 year, it's not 5 years, it's 10 years, 15 years, you know. And obviously you're going to miss sessions, and don't beat yourself up, because like motivation, it ebbs and flows. You know, everyone goes through lulls, and so enjoy the good times, get through the bad times. Like I would always try and start a session, because often if you can't really be bothered, it's just the thing of getting out the door, and once you're out the door, you're absolutely fine, and you're away. So I'd always say, try and start the warm-up, take away expectations. If you still feel rubbish after the warm-up, come home, switch off, run a bath, have a glass of wine, something like that, and reset for the next day. But I think it's difficult in this day and age. I think what we see is on social media with lots of pro athletes and things, it's all very filtered. And I personally would like to see a few more stories of how the top pros and things cope with these bad days, because they're not always 100% motivated, and things do go a bit wrong. And certainly in this situation, it is hard for everybody, and sleep and anxiety and things are, you know, they're all, lifestyles are all changing, and everything's uncertain. So yeah, it's just a case of, I mean, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite for saying it, but it is trying to just be a bit easy on yourself, a bit kind to yourself. Yeah, but with a bit of self-discipline as well. Like if you have a goal, then you're gonna have to, get out when you don't fancy it. But if it's really not happening, best rest. Motivation can disappear when you are slightly overtrained and very fatigued as well. So that's another marker to look out for if that continues more than a couple of days. So yeah, I'll have time for sort of 1 or 2 more questions. Oh, I can wave to people. Hello. But yeah, if that's everything, I just hope everybody is staying safe and well and enjoying what they can outside. Oh, favourite UK ultra. I'll answer that one before I leave then. So favourite UK ultra marathon. I'm so glad I got to race in 2020, because it had been a good few years since I'd done an ultra. And I raced the St Peter's Way 43 miles over in Essex in February, and I absolutely loved it. It's done by Challenge Running. They've got some crazy events, but also some quite manageable events as well. It would have been hard to navigate it without a map, which I had on my posh watch, because it's quite tricky navigation wise. But it was a great route, and a great way back in. I would say my second favourite was Centurion running 100 miles in 2012, but that was just so hard that I can't say I loved it. It was a real mental battle for the last sort of 20-30 miles. But I couldn't fault the organisation and the camaraderie, and that's what I love about ultra. And then, okay, one more. How's life back on the bike again? That's a good question, because I thought I'd stopped with bike riding last year. I really wasn't happy with like just the exhaustion factor. I think I was burning out a lot with pro triathlon. We were doing a hell of a lot of training, and as you know, as a pro is expected to do, and you need to do that, and you want to do that because you're trying to compete with the world's best, who can put a lot away. So I had some forced time off the bike actually, and it's weird what lockdown does. Because I can't run as much as I want to, just because, as I say, I can't get physio and massage, and there are no events, so it seems a bit pointless. Even though we've got unlimited time now, it does seem a bit pointless going out for 4-hour runs and injuring myself potentially. I've been back on the bike, and I hate gadgets, and I hate apps, and I hate aero gains, and but I really like Zwift, which is like gadget and app central. But it's brought, like, we do a team time trial, we're doing one this evening, the Choppers, and it's all like, wow, it's some team, I tell you what. We got Emma Pallant and Lucy Charles and Lucy Gossage and Nikki Bartlett and Kat Rye, and oh gosh, I mean, I've missed out half the names, Sophie Caldwell as well. But the difference is with this is I'm enjoying it because I'm riding with them, and I'm not having to try and ride against them. And so the dynamic of Zwift, where you can have the Discord app and you can speak to people. I've got a training group with Dave Newport as well down in Cheltenham, and so they're down in Cheltenham and I'm up in Windsor, and we're all talking to each other and doing the same sessions. And it's safe because it's indoors, because I used to get scared of the traffic round here. That I didn't realise how much that put me off cycling, to be honest. And now, I mean, the roads are much quieter as well, and I've got a gravel bike, so I can go off-road a little bit. And the love for the cycling has come back. Now I don't have to cycle. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I say I get bored after 2.5 hours. So I've decided I'm not going to be doing any 5-hour rides as habit anymore. Maybe the odd one-off one, for a challenge or something. But yeah, I certainly didn't enjoy that as a pro triathlete. But I am enjoying riding for the sake of riding. And I think that's something that lockdown has proved very, very valuable for me, actually. And I love being part of a community like Zwift. And yeah, the choppers are hardcore. I know, the choppers are hardcore, and they're getting more and more hardcore because we've got this team to beat. So there's another elite female team, the Socks for Watts, and they keep beating us by 20 seconds. But yeah, I'll end there. I'll say we are on Zwift Live. I think we're racing tonight, the Choppers versus Socks for Watts. We're off at 18:28 and they're off at 18:29, I think. So yeah, tune into that, and I think there's some commentary which tends to be quite funny as well, and the whole race it will last about 50 minutes, I think. But I'll have to do something incredible to just hang with these girls this week, blimey. But hey, it feels like a real race. It's kind of scary. I'm scared already. But anyway, thank you so much for your questions, and it's great to sort of chat. I've not done this before. I feel like I'm just whittering away to myself. But lovely to see you all coming in, and wish you all the best, and see you soon, and maybe on Zwift. Take care now. Bye bye.